Hello, sports fans. It's Friday, November 1st, 2024. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports. Wow, it's November. Believe it or not. I mean, here in New York, last night, Halloween, I was walking around in sandals and sunglasses, 75 degrees, but it's November. November, the month of Thanksgiving, the month of football, the month of elections. It's November. Folks, we're going to go a different direction today. We're going to step away from being a beat writer of our teams a bit. I'm going to talk about a topic I find interesting, psychology. A little fact about me, I hold a psychology degree, and I've always thought it interesting, applied to performance, applied to teams, applied to sports. If you've ever heard about team chemistry issues, or that team has a good locker room, or a good charisma, or that guy's a great leader, or they just fit well together. These are lots of subjective claims. And honestly, I don't think there's enough objective, concrete, substantial ways that this is analyzed and thought about. Everything else is overanalyzed today. Maybe some of the smart teams have figured it out. They just don't talk about it. There's no Moneyball book yet. It needs to be written. But yeah, I'm interested in psychology. So my interest was piqued particularly. I came across a research study titled How Narcissists Block Teams from Success that basically suggests evidence that NBA teams with high narcissism miss out on the collaboration gains that teams low on narcissism gain from playing together. So I'll talk to you, the thinking fan, right? Cleats by Dre, the thinking and feeling fan. I'll talk you through the study, offer my own thoughts as to what it means. First, a quick programming note. With the sports calendar slowing down a little bit, I'll likely be moving back from 2 episode releases a week to once a week. I think this will help the product overall. I can spend a bit more time on research per episode, along with overall, making some improvements in general on production quality, marketing, etc. So we'll see. Bear with me as I transition. I hope you don't miss me too much. Catch up maybe with some episodes you missed. But we'll probably do one a week, probably midweek, starting next week. So let's see. All right, now let's talk about this article. So the research study is titled How Narcissists Block Teams from Success. Daniel Pink shared this article out on X. Some of you might know the name. Pink is a noted psychologist, famous to me for his book Drive, which I think seminal literature on theories of motivation in the workplace and in life. I always remember his framework, right? It's about motivation boils down to giving people purpose, autonomy, and mastery. This study, he mentioned, though, we was sharing it, right? It was published in 2020 in the Academy of Management Journal by Emily Grijalva, Timothy D. Maines, Katie L. Badura, and Stephen W. Whiting. So it's an academic paper. I'll quote from the article a bit here. The authors write, narcissists tend to be entitled, arrogant, have inflated self-importance, and lack empathy for others. It's easy to see how these interpersonal attributes could produce dysfunctional team behaviors. In the background, the article actually talks about how in past research on psychology and narcissism didn't find any individual effects, which basically means if you were to hire a narcissist for in the workplace, no issues if they work by themselves, right? Give them a task, just doing it on their own, no issues. So the psychologists were interested in this, looking at this for the team effects and what effects does it have on team performance. A little tougher to judge. Sports is a great avenue for that. So the researchers, they based their findings on data from every game in the 2013-2014 regular season of the National Basketball Association. I found this curious. I feel like when I was reading the article, okay, kind of a really small sample size, one season, but okay, let's go with it. For the study, researchers developed a coding guide to analyze the narcissism levels of nearly 35,000 tweets and the Twitter profile pictures of about 40,000 NBA players. 400 NBA players. I'm not surprised by this. When I was at IBM, I did a little bit of AI consulting myself. We had something called Watson Personality Insights that hooked up actually really easily to Twitter data, a lot of data, all those little posts that you make, and I guess the profile pictures too. They can tell at least a little bit about someone's personality. We did fun things like Celebrity Match. I used it in a few different projects, so I'm not surprised as to where they went from this. I had a similar idea. Tooted my own horn. So they used the results of every game from the 2013-14 regular season to determine the impact that narcissists have on overall team performance. I'll jump to the core finding for you. At the beginning of the season, low and high narcissism teams were very similar to one another in terms of coordination. Over time, however, the low narcissism teams coordinated better, whereas the high narcissism teams coordinated the same. They didn't get worse, but they missed out on those gains, right? They just kind of like stayed the same when they all got together, whereas low narcissism teams learned from each other, grew familiar, grew better, coordinated better. The impact was actually measured at about 3 games, which means the lower narcissism teams won about 3 games more in the second half of the year. That might not seem significant, but if you consider that at the end of this season, only a single game separated the final qualifying team from the playoffs with the next one, 3 games in an 82-game season, pretty substantial. Now comes the fun part. We get to hear about the teams that singled out in this study. And boy, Cleats listeners, do we have a joy from our local team. First, though, the lowest team mean narcissism score, the Charlotte Bobcats. Yes, they're the Bobcats before the Hornets. That year, they were one of the most surprising teams, it turns out, dramatically outperforming expectations. Looking at the preseason predictions, CBSSports.com, Sportsbook.com, they had the Bobcats pegged for 26 wins. The Bobcats finished with 43 wins. So they outperformed. If you remember this Bobcats team, listener, I can't expect you do. But guys like Kemba Walker, Al Jefferson, Gerald Henderson, Josh McRoberts, 2 Dukies there, Michael Kidd Gilchrist. Maybe you're thinking are not exactly the cockiest guys. Duke fans might disagree with Henderson and McRoberts when they were here at Duke. Maybe they became a little more unassuming in the NBA. But that's a team that got better as the year went on, seemingly in good chemistry. The contrast, the highest team mean narcissism score, is your New York Knickerbockers, who performed well below preseason expectations. CBS sports writers and Vegas oddmakers had the Knicks as one of the best teams in the NBA, 49 win projection. The Knicks only achieved 37 wins that year. They did not make the playoffs. And if those of you listener, you might recall, this is the year after the Knicks had the big gain where they had got the 2 seed the year before. They won over 50 games. This team was a big disappointment. And what's interesting is the rosters were fairly much the same between the 2 years. The 2012-2013 Knicks had Melo, Felton, Chandler, J.R. Smith, Jason Kidd, Iman Shumpert, Amari Stoudemire. Yeah, you're probably going, a lot of narcissism there. Fun players, but yeah, you're probably feeling that. Egos, right? The next year is very similar, except they traded future draft picks for Andrea Bargnani from the Raptors. I don't know him well. I can't imagine the former number 1 pick, kind of a flop, did not add to that score. So it's actually interesting. I mean, this is the team that stayed together 2 years. They were, I guess, the best when they got together and then didn't really have any gains, and actually they did have some detriments. Which is funny in the article. These guys really have it out for Melo. Melo must be pretty high in the narcissism score because they're making a case, right? And it's tricky in basketball because it is a highly superstar laden sport with that all-star kind of performance mentality. I have the ball. I'm going to score. They So the article is talking about well-known illustrations of disappointing performances. Besides those Knicks, the 2004 U.S. men's Olympic basketball team failed to win the gold medal. Famous, talented players like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and Allen Iverson. And then they go more recently, the Oklahoma City Thunder struggled in the first half of the 2017-18 NBA season after the Big Three experiment of Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony. There we go again. Didn't work out. So they just got out for Melo. So I just think this study is interesting. Though I did want to get a little deeper than what I was just able to read here. And I want to get more of a sense as to who are those narcissistic players in the NBA today. And let's think about that. So I entered my robot friend, my AI friend, ChatGPT. I asked it, wait, did we say they? What's the AI? Is it they or it? We'll ask it. No, they feels better. We asked it. We asked it to build us a narcissism rubric. And it took 10 criteria in. Here they are. So, if a player self-promotes on social media frequently, 1. 2, makes grandiose statements in interviews. 3, on-court behavior with excessive celebrations and blaming of others. 4, conflicts with teammates and coaches, team dynamics. 5, nickname self-attribution. 6, media manipulation. 7, entitlement behavior. 8, lack of accountability. 9, attention-seeking actions. 10, impact on team performance. That's our narcissism rubric made in 3 seconds by asking Gen AI. So tell me, who are the top 10 most narcissistic NBA players as of 2024? Listener, maybe I'll give you 10 seconds. Think in your head. How many can you name? Do 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 do. All right, you probably did pretty good. So I think this is an order also. The top most narcissistic NBA player per ChatGPT is the king himself, LeBron James. Yes, self-proclaimed the king. Heavily involved in media projects about himself. Accused of team building around personal preferences, he's the most narcissistic. Number 2, his former sidekick, Kyrie Irving. History of controversial statements, often blamed for team chemistry issues. Number 3, Mr. Kevin Durant. Known for social media conflicts, has been criticized for team hopping. Yep. And there's a thread here, and we'll analyze this. Number 4 is Russell Westbrook. Number 5 is Draymond Green. Then we go James Harden, Ben Simmons, Dwight Howard, and some youngins, John Morant and Zion Williamson. Any surprises there? Not for me. I mean, I may be surprised at Westbrook. I feel like he gets a bad rap. I feel like he's actually a pretty good team player if you listen to quotes. But he's definitely been narcissistic in his past, the way he plays. Let's flip it. Okay. Who's the least narcissistic NBA players? I'll give you 5 seconds. Do 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 do. Top 10 least narcissistic NBA players per ChatGPT in the rubric we created. Well, it cheated in number 1 because this guy's been retired long time. Maybe he's just that not narcissistic. It's Tim Duncan. Yeah. Known for his quiet leadership, team-first mentality. Rarely sought the spotlight despite his Hall of Fame career. Doesn't that stand out to you? Yeah. In terms of current players, Giannis Antetokounmpo consistently emphasizes team success over individual accolades, known for humble background and appreciation for his opportunities. Kawhi Leonard, extremely low-key personality, focuses on performance rather than self-promotion. Nikola Jokic prioritizes team play, often deflects praise to teammates. Number 5 is Steph Curry, often credits teammates and coaches. Then we go Dame Lillard, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Mike Conley, and Jrue Holiday. That's a pretty good list, I gotta say. I don't know much about Dame Lillard, but I believe it. I can be convinced. Those are unselfish, low on narcissism players. And I think if we look at this list, I just did it. I mean, it's tough, right? Because obviously a lot of successful careers in the high narcissism piece, but it's not about individual, it's about team. And let's count the rings among those 10 players. The high narcissism list, I counted 12 rings, 12 NBA titles. 4 from LeBron, 4 from Draymond. Important to note on Draymond, he played with Steph, who's on our other list. I got 2 from Durant, also played with Steph. I got 1 for Kyrie, that's 11. And I got 1 for Dwight Howard, that's 12. In the top 10 least narcissistic NBA players, I got 15. Yeah, 4 due to Tim Duncan. Or did he win 5? He won 5. So that's 16 rings. What else? 4 for Stephen Curry. 2 for Kawhi Leonard. That's 11. 1 for Giannis, 12. 1 for Jokic, 13. 2 for Drew Holiday, Bucks and Celtics, and 1 for Jaylen Brown. So team success, little quick and dirty sample size, the least narcissistic players. And if you look at, what's really interesting from the study, right? If we're taking the study further, it's not that like the high narcissism teams aren't good right away. They just don't get better over time, right? If the guys stick together, they don't get better. And boy, that high narcissism list, they don't stick together. Think of the first guy at the list, LeBron. He's always leaving. Has he ever been on a team that's gotten better over time? He won early on with the Lakers, early with the Heat, early with the Cavs. His buddy Kyrie, always leaving also. They got a title early on, then they were both gone. The next 3 were Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. Wow, those 3 together in Oklahoma City. Is that why it didn't work? Is that why they never really got better with all that talent? Draymond Green, we mentioned, he might be the exception, countered by Steph. Also, a Hall of Fame coach like Steve Kerr, who he had up-close experience with a handful of narcissists in the Bulls. Got to believe Jordan would be up there. Maybe Pippen. Rodman for sure. Phil Jackson for sure. So it's interesting. Those Bulls won 6 titles. They kind of kept changing the team. Extreme talent, they couldn't keep together. We all saw The Last Dance, so that's interesting. Ben Simmons has just been a disaster. Dwight Howard, those Magic teams made the finals. They never really got better after that. John Zion, young studs, but they were studs off the bat. They've yet to find sustained success. So I think this study is being backed up by my quick ChatGPT study. A quick sidebar, and then we'll close, is I'm curious about other sports. How about the NFL? So I asked it, what's the top 5 most narcissistic players using your rubric in the NFL? Not necessarily current. You can name them. I'm not going to give you a Jeopardy jingle. Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., Cam Newton. Wait a second. Number 4, Tom Brady. That's an interesting one. Definitely narcissistic, but also incredible team player. You can't deny that. And a facilitator of a team. Maybe this doesn't work in the NFL, this theory. Number 5 on the most list is Aaron Rodgers, which is interesting to all us New York fans, all us Jets fans right now. He won a title early on in Green Bay. That team never really got better. Let's see what happens with the Jets. Just for S's and giggles, top 5 least narcissistic players. Russell Wilson, which I would question based on just what I've heard from Denver and in general. But then Larry Fitzgerald, yeah, I see it. Drew Brees, I see it. Derrick Henry, I see it. J.J. Watt, I could see it, maybe not. But really, the study was done in the NBA. It might not apply in the NFL. Just, especially at the quarterback position, you might need to be a little narcissistic to do that job. Just food for thought. But really, we studied on the NBA here. What's the so what? Is this Captain Obvious? Yeah, it probably is. You're probably nodding to yourself like, yeah, I could have told you this. But at the same time, once again, isn't it pretty cool to have research, empirical evidence kind of backing up that eye test? So next time you're thinking about, a new star coming to your team, think about, all right, they got success off the bat, but is your team getting better? Is this too much ego? All you got to do is look at, I mentioned the current Celtics. God, if they have a better year this year than last year, you could thank guys like Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown, maybe even a Tatum. He'd probably score low also. So fun study. I'd like to do more of these kind of studies. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, folks, thanks for listening. Please keep sharing. Please keep reaching out to me on social media. You could find my X handle, cleatsbydre_pod. Same with my Insta handle. And stay tuned. Have a great weekend. And take care.